Hello guys, welcome to the video on e-talks, which are basically small videos which I am making on current affairs related to Indian economy. And here now we are discussing May 2021 topic, and the topic name is Land Bank. This Land Bank topic, this topic is more important for the mains part. We may get a direct question for it in the mains part. Okay, so let's discuss what land bank is and what are the like government initiatives regarding land banks. Let's discuss. So why it has been news? Why it has been in news? Reason is like the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, basically which is called DIPAM. Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. Basically, this department it looks after disinvestment of PSUs. So this DIPAM, it has finalized the structure of the land bank company. You need to understand one thing, that this land bank company, it is different from land bank system which was created earlier. This land bank company, it will be created in 2021, while land bank system created in 2020. So they are two different. We'll be discussing them as we progress. So basically it has finalized the structure of land bank company that will be tasked with selling land parcels owned by government departments and PSUs. Basically, what will this land bank company do? You see this, that suppose BSNL, it has a big plot of say 5,000 square yards in a prime location in Mumbai. And BSNL is not working over there. BSNL has its exchange somewhere else, but BSNL from its profits earlier, it brought a plot of this size in Mumbai. But now you see this 5,000 square yard plot in Mumbai, its cost will be more than 100 crore rupees. But BSNL is not putting it into any use. It's an asset for BSNL, but it's not put into any productive use. So what will this land bank company do? This land bank company, it will take over these land parcels from government departments and from PSUs. And it will be taking over them and it will be selling them also. So that's the main responsibility of this, because they are lying idle. But if they're sold to someone else, these land parcels, they'll be able to generate revenue. Okay, so we'll see. It has finalized the structure of the land bank company that will be tasked with selling land parcels owned by government departments and public sector companies. So it will be taking over those land parcels and will be selling those land parcels. It will be including even those land parcels which have some litigation over them, which are some even stuck in litigation. So the land parcel on which some case is going on, some dispute is going on, even those land parcels will be taken over by land bank company and will be sold. Okay. Now the structure has been finalized, but now the proposal, it will be placed before the CCEA, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, which will be approving it. And it is in line with the land special purpose vehicle will be set up as a company. Okay, this land bank company, it will be functioning as a special purpose vehicle, so it will be registered as under Companies Act. And as we discussed earlier, the company is expected to develop assets of PSUs into revenue generating projects. Moreover, the SP will also have experts to resolve disputes that have hampered sales of such properties. I told you earlier that it will be taking even those projects which are stuck in litigation. Suppose on this plot only, suppose another builder is also claiming its stakes. He is also claiming that this plot belongs to him. So this plot is a disputed one. BSNL says it is its plot. The builder is saying it's its plot. So there is a dispute. So this land bank company, it will have experts to resolve disputes which have hampered sales of such properties. Okay. And then that was land bank company. Now we are moving to land bank. So what is a land bank? Look, what is a bank? In bank what happens, people who have surplus money, they will give their rupee, and people who need money, they will take rupee. But what will happen in a land bank? That people who have surplus land, they will give their land to land bank, and people who need land, basically industrialists, they will be given land. That's a land bank. So basically land bank is a government entity or a non-profit corporation that helps manage and dispose of vacant properties, vacant land, or tax delinquent properties, so that vacant property can be redeveloped for a more productive use. Okay, so basically this land bank, it will be managing and disposing. First it will be managing, it will be buying and disposing of vacant plots, vacant properties. Now this land bank system, it was started in 1990s. So state governments began to bank land in the 1990s, particularly in the post-liberalization period. And till 2017, most Indian banks either already had a sizable land banks or were in progress of creating them. So what were the states doing? States, they were developing their own land banks. The state were acquiring land. The vacant property, the vacant land, it was being acquired and it was being given to industrialists. Okay. And Niti Aayog, so now I am talking about the land bank system. So this land bank, it was developed earlier. Land bank, the states had land banks, but then I told you that we have developed a land bank system. So what is a land bank system? Land bank system, it is a geographical information system based, GIS based, GIS enabled, a database of industrial clusters. So what we have done is we have integrated, it's an integration of IIS with GIS. Geographical information system, IIS is industrial integration system. So we have merged both of them and we have got land bank system. So this land bank system, it is basically, we can say it is a database or it's a portal of industrial clusters. And currently in this land bank system, 6 states, they are participating and 8 more states, they will be participating soon. So this is basically one-stop repository, one-stop database, one-stop repository or one-step database, and it will be having all informations like the plot information, what is the size, it will have a satellite view of the terrain. It will also have heat map of the area, telling about how much forests are there, how much natural resources, that is minerals, are there in that area, what's the drainage system in that area. So all those systems, they will be present in this land bank system. So basically Niti Aayog's strategy for New India 1970, New India at 75, it suggested to adopt the system of using a geographic information system based maps at all levels to create pre-approved land banks for manufacturing facilities. We have discussed it earlier that most of the manufacturing projects and most of the public-private partnerships, they are facing problems of land acquisition. So this land bank system, it will have pre-approved land banks. The industrial cluster which I am talking about, that it will have database of some 3,300 industrial clusters, industrial parks, 3,300 industrial parks all over the India. They will be present in it and they will be pre-approved. That is, land acquisition has taken place. They have to be just allotted to the beneficiary. Okay, so that is how a land bank system will work. That is, the land would be acquired by the state and then it will be allotted to the manufacturing units. And currently the land bank system, it has a database of 3,300 industrial clusters spread across 6 states. 8 states will be joining soon. Then this is the main part, benefits of a land bank. First is land use efficiency. Look, India has only 2.4% of total land area of the world, and it is supporting 18% of the world population. So what does it mean? It means in India's case, land is a scarce resource. So as it is a scarce resource, we need to have better utilization of this. So hence land banks, they would allow us for better utilization of unused government land, including that in notified SEZs, which has about 52% of vacant land. So even SEZs which are like sanctioned and approved by the government, even in those around 50% is vacant. So that's the one benefit. First is it will give us land use efficiency. Second, it will address the inordinate delay in disposing government land. Point is, the land which is under private ownership, that has to be acquired, compensation has to be given. But even government land, even government cannot take away the land which is under its control. There are certain issues regarding that. So what are the issues? Point is, why there is a delay in disposing government land? Because this happens due to lack of adequate land records. Even government doesn't have a land record to prove that this land belongs to the government. At the same time, there is an absence of a single comprehensive land database. There's opposition from trade unions. Suppose some work is going on over there, then trade unions will oppose it. Illegal encroachment. Suppose like Union Carbide, I'll give you an example. On Union Carbide, the person has vacated the area, but now an illegal colony has been set up over it. So what will people do is they'll encroach upon government area, government land. And because of illegal encroachment, now if the government wants that land, it will have to remove the illegal encroachment, and then the people will become homeless, and then they'll go to court and the whole delay will be there. Okay, so there will be illegal encroachment, and there may be a lack of coordination between various ministries. So because of this, there's a delay in disposing of government lands. But on the other hand, if we have a dedicated land bank, it will ensure time-bound disposal of unutilized land, because the land bank system, it will keep on acquiring land, keep on allotting land, keep on sorting out the disputes. Then third benefit is it will boost economic growth, because if we see China's growth rate from 2001 to 9, it shows that the contribution of land to that economic growth was around 26%. That's land acquisition. It contributed 25% approximately to China's GDP growth rate. Then this map or this box, it shows what's the progress towards land bank. So I told earlier that in August 2020, a national GIS enabled land bank system was launched by integration of industrial information system with GIS systems of 6 states in first phase. In the second phase, 8 more states joined. Currently, what is the status? At present, India Industrial Land Bank, IIS, it's a portal, it's a portal, okay? India Industrial Land Bank, it's a GIS enabled database of industrial areas clusters across the country. Covers over more than 3,300 parks or clusters, covering about this much of land area. That's not important. This is important. That the benefit of this GIS enabled land bank system. First is it will provide information on available land for prospective investors. Suppose a FDI is coming into India, or even a domestic investor is there, it needs a huge land, it can see the information on this portal and can buy land from here. It's providing a GIS mapping of industrial corridor. So if there is GIS mapping, it will be making a better decision making. It will be helping in better decision making, because we'll know what forest is there, what drainage is there, what natural resources are there. All those informations will be there. Satellite view will be there. And then this GIS will also, I told you states, they have already developed the land banks. So it will be linked to states GIS portal and state land banks also. So we'll have an integrated system. And then it will also contain information about the existing external and internal infrastructure such as railroad connectivity. So whatever are the internal and external infrastructure around the industrial area, around the land bank, that information will also be there. And then a next benefit, this is the fourth benefit. It boosts investment. It says that an estimated 7.7 million people in India are affected by conflict over 2.5 million hectares of land. So basically, because of the conflict over this much of land, first of all, people are affected because of some agriculture purpose or because of the encroachment which they have done, which it appears on the government records. Okay, so basically it's also affecting domestic as well as foreign investment, because no one would like to, because if anyone has to start business, first thing is he needs the land, and land acquisition has to be transparent without any issues. So land bank, it can serve as a one-stop solution to the free and easy accessibility of all related industrial information, which will help in informed decision making by investors, boosting investment. So basically, as I told you, that this is more important, that land bank system can serve as one-stop solution to the free and easy accessibility of all related industrial information. Everything will be there, which will be helping in giving a better decision. Then it will be also helping in ease of doing business. This Land Acquisition Act, which we'll be discussing now, many times it is seen as an impediment in land acquisition projects, because it has happened that Vedanta's bauxite mining project in Odisha's Niyamgiri or Tata's motor project in Singur, both of them, they got cancelled due to land issues. So if already the permits are available for land use, and if there is no land litigation, then it will be easier to start the business. So basically, availability of all associated permits and near absence of land litigation would help reduce cost overruns, decreasing corporate bankruptcy. If you remember, the NPAs of infrastructure creating companies, one of the biggest reason for them was land acquisition. The companies, they had to give compensation to the farmers, to the beneficiaries multiple times. And because of the issue of land acquisition, the project would get stuck also. The reason of stalled projects was land acquisition. So if there is availability of all associated permits, and if there is an absence of land litigation, it will help in reducing cost overrun and help decreasing the corporate bankruptcy. And as it is saying, a Niti Aayog study is saying that disputes on land or real estate can take an average time of 20 years. For this many years, the project will be getting stuck. Other benefits includes infusion of transparency in land market transactions. Availability of consolidated land, will be able to get one piece of land in one big area. Reduced burden on judiciary because of litigation. And informed decision making by various stakeholders, for example, domestic and foreign investors. Okay, so these are the benefits of a land bank. We'll revise the benefits. What are the benefits? First is, it will help us in land use efficiency. We'll be able to better use the existing land. It will reduce the delay in disposing of government land, which is facing problem because of encroachment, trade union, etc. It will provide boost to economic growth. It will boost investment. It will bring ease of doing business also. Then let me tell you about the Land Acquisition Act, which passed in 2013, which is in detail called Right to Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act. First of all, this act, it was passed in 2013, and this act replaced a century-old previous act of 1894. And in this, look, as we have an environment impact assessment of various projects, that is, we have to see how much is the impact on environment. Similarly, In case of land acquisition, there is a social impact assessment where we have to see the cost and benefits of the project to the people affected through the project. For example, if land of people is being taken away from, for example, near Delhi, Jewar airport is coming up. So obviously, if airport is coming up, the land will be taken from the farmers. So here we'll have to see the social impact assessment. That is, what are the positives and what are the negatives which will happen to these farmers if their land is taken away from them and the airport is built. Okay. So it will estimate the cost and benefit. It is mandatory for all projects except in cases of urgency or for irrigation projects. Because in irrigation projects, environment impact assessment is done. At the same time, once acquisition is done, for all the acquisitions, rehabilitation will be done and resettlement will also be done of all the affected people. Rehabilitation and resettlement is very important. Compensation will be given to the owners, and the compensation is 4 times of the market value in the rural area. And in urban areas, it is 2 times of the market value. And moreover, the Act says that there is a mandatory consent of at least 70% of landowners for acquiring land for PPP and 80% for private companies. Okay. So 70% yes of landowner is required for giving a project to PPP, to public-private partnership project, and 80% yes is required for land being given to a private company. Okay. Then we have to discuss the concerns associated with land banks. What are the concerns? What are the challenges? First concern is there is questions of ownerships and right. Land banks, they are avoiding legal bottlenecks of acquiring land that demands following legitimate procedures. Now, state government is not saying, so look, in various villages there is a common area. This common area, it can be used for grazing of cattle. This common area, it can be used for marriages also. So what the state governments are doing is, just to increase their revenue, they are rushing in to build the land banks. And they are using both private as well as common land. And they are not seeing how people are getting affected by it. Because common land is everyone's land. So what is happening is, people are getting affected in the hurry of the state governments to build the land bank. Then it is having legal loopholes also. It says, according to the Forest Conservation Act of 1980, the government is required to get forest clearance or approval from the central ministry to use forest land for non-forest purpose. But however, there is no provision to obtain forest clearance for a land bank under the Act. Okay. So what is happening is, there is the state is using legal loopholes to build a land bank, because the Forest Conservation Act, it says that a government is required to get forest clearance or approval from Central Environment Ministry. It will give permission, it will give approval to state government to use forest land for non-forest purposes. But the State Government Act, it says that if you have to make a land bank, then you need not get a forest clearance. So these two acts are contradicting each other. Using this loophole, the states are building the land banks. That is, they are using loopholes in the acts to making land bank, where they are not obtaining forest clearance approval to convert a land into land bank. Third is, it is ignoring the ideals of justice. Look, a report submitted to Planning Commission, it suggested that unused land that was cultivable. That suppose the government has taken a land under land bank, government has taken a cultivable land. It says that unused land that was cultivated, that the government took away land which was cultivated, but now it is not used by the state. It hasn't been allocated to anyone. It could be placed in a state land bank. Suggested that unused land that was cultivated, it could be placed in a state land bank and later be distributed among the landless community. But what is happening is the redistribution is not happening. That is, Niti Aayog Planning Commission report, it said that if there was any unused land and that was cultivable, this unused cultivable land, it could be put in the land bank. And later on, from this land bank, it could be distributed to landless people. But what is happening is the government is doing this. Unused cultivable land is being put in the land bank, but it is not redistributed. So justice is not happening. Then it says, other point is, if a land remains unused for 5 years, suppose under land bank, the government acquired land, okay, from farmers. But this land which was in land bank, it was not used for 5 years. Then this land, it can be returned back to the farmers. Or this land, it can be put in the state's land bank. Okay, but what the government is doing is, it is not giving it back to the farmers, it is just keeping it in the land bank only. For example, under Jewar Airport, I'll give you 3 examples. For example, under Jewar Airport, government acquires suppose 40 acres of land. And this 40 acres of land, only 30 acres of land are used up. So 10 acre is used, 10 acre is free. This 10 acre, it will be put up under land bank. And from this land bank, it can be given back to the cultivators. But what is happening is the 10 acres are put in the land bank, but they are not being given back to the cultivators. Okay. Then land banks, they are also creating there are potential for future conflicts also, because what is happening is the land records, there is a difference in the de jure and de facto use. So on paper it would be shown that the land, it belongs to the government and nothing is happening over this. But it's quite possible that on ground, in reality, the land has been encroached by certain people. So now if on paper it is shown that land is belonging to the government and nothing is happening over there, then suppose an industries come and puts a bid for that project. And later on, the people who have encroached upon it illegally, they come and also like claim for this land. Who will be responsible for that? So basically, reports have cautioned that there is a potential risk of future investments on bank lands facing conflicts similarly to those that prevented previous planned projects. Further, de jure records, that is means which is as per law, regarding land use and ownership of the bank, and de facto use means what is happening in reality. So there is a difference in what is happening in reality and what is on in paper in terms of land. So though the land bank system is saying we have 3,300 industrial clusters which are available for sale, but we actually do not know how many of them are under litigation or how many of them are encroached upon. And then it says that it just provides a one-time solution. It says that bring up a land bank, but such land banks, it offers a one-time solution, as we have to continuously finding new vacant land. We need to regularly find vacant lands, but that will be difficult in future. And moreover, some projects require lands in particular areas which, if unavailable, will circle back to the problem of land acquisition. Okay, for example, food processing industries, it will acquire land near good irrigated areas near good agricultural lands. They cannot do anything with land which is barren. Okay, so land bank is saying that we build a land bank, and the problem of land acquisition is solved. No, the problem of land acquisition will keep on happening because we'll always need different land, vacant land at different places. Okay, so it's not a, it says it's a one-time solution, but it cannot be a one-time solution. So what can be a way ahead? What we should do is, along with bringing land bank, we should also have a land record repository. We should go towards digitization of land records and integration of all records relating to titles. And we should define a structured timeline for timely resolution of property disputes and making public land disputes data, etc. through schemes like Swamitv. So basically, this is this thing you can write in the conclusion, that we should focus on building a land record repository, digitization of land records, and we should focus on timely resolution of property disputes. That completes the discussion of topic land banks.